What's up, everyone? Welcome to the November 16th edition of the NBA Injury Report, brought to you by BetMGM. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. We have a 10-game NBA slate with a ton of injury news to look at today. But before we get to that, click the link in the description below, sign up, make a deposit, and place a real money wager on BetMGM. You will receive a risk-free first bet up to $1,000, in addition to 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Be sure to take advantage of this offer by clicking that link below. Now, as I said before, we do have 10 games. There's a lot of pending news. We've had some players ruled out already today, including Marcus Smart and Bam Adebayo. We'll talk about that stuff more on the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock shows. So be sure to tune in to those shows on the Stokastic YouTube channel. But getting into the guys that are questionable right now and what impacts their absences or potential absences would have, starting with the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton is questionable. If he's out, we likely see more minutes from a very inexpensive TJ McConnell. McConnell's a solid fantasy producer, very good playmaker, and we've seen that consistently over the years. So he would play more. He would look like a good value, and it would probably also open up more playing time for Benedict Mathurin, who's been a very good scorer for Indiana and would likely be used to fill in some of the missing offensive scoring, I should say, from Haliburton. For the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero has already been ruled out. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable, but he did miss shoot around. If he were to miss this game, we probably get another value center in Mo Bamba. Bamba's playing time has increased in Banchero's absence, averaging about 22 minutes per game. If Carter's out, it's likely that Bamba starts, though it's not a necessity. It is likely that he would move into the starting lineup. He's a good point per minute producer, so that would make him look really good. You also get increased usage for guys like Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner because Carter is a relatively high usage piece of this team, especially without Banchero on the floor. For the Miami Heat, I mentioned it a second ago, but Bam Adebayo has already been ruled out. Omer Yurtseven is out. Udonis Haslem also out. Dewayne Dedmon is questionable. So this is huge because if Dedmon is good to go, he's going to project as one of the best point per dollar values on the slate because he is the only center active on the Miami Heat roster. If he is out, we are going to get some weird lineups from the Heat, but there's going to be a lot of minutes available because we already know that Tyler Hero is out as well. So we're already talking about lineups where Caleb Martin is averaging 34 minutes and Max Strus is averaging 35 or 36 minutes. It's likely you would get substantial playing time from some combination of Hayward Highsmith, Nikola Jovic, maybe even more minutes than normal for those starters as well. Miami has the potential to have a really, really thin rotation if Dewayne Dedmon were to also miss this game. If he plays, like I said, absolutely one of the best point per dollar values on the slate. For the Toronto Raptors, Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. are once again questionable. We saw them both miss the last game. Thaddeus Young remained in the starting lineup in VanVleet's absence. Delano Banton moved into the starting lineup and had a massive game in place of Gary Trent Jr. Banton did only play 24 or 25 minutes in that game, but he dealt with some foul trouble. It's likely if both of these guys are out, he's looking at upper 20s in minutes tonight and still looks like a solid value. If only one of them is out, then he probably goes back to the bench and can be pretty safely ignored at $5,100 on DraftKings. Also, of course, if both of these guys are out, you see a bump in usage for OG Anunoby and a slight bump potentially for Scotty Barnes, though that hasn't actually been reflected in what's happened in the past. You do also get more playing time for Chris Boucher the more the guys are out on this team. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell missed their last game. He's questionable today. He did go through shoot around. If he plays, he looks good. He's Donovan Mitchell. He's likely playing a ton of minutes as long as we don't hear that he's limited, and he's having an excellent season for the Cavs. If he's out, Darius Garland looks very, very good. We know that Garland gets a nice bump in usage without Mitchell on the floor. He also has a very high assist percentage without him out there. And then Kevin Love, one way or the other, is going to look good, assuming he starts in place of Jared Allen as he did last game. But if Mitchell is out, there is even more usage available for Love. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Jrue Holiday is questionable. He's missed their last few games. Javon Carter has remained in the starting lineup, but has played more minutes and been more productive without Holiday. Giannis Antetokounmpo is active, though, or expected to be active. He played their last game, so not really interested in Carter. Not interested in much of anything if Jrue is out, and if Drew's back in, he kind of just looks like a secondary option on this slate at best. So I don't think it has too much actual DFS implications. I think it just sort of matters for who's actually going to be playing for the Bucks. For the Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul is questionable. They do have a favorable matchup against Golden State. If Paul is out, it looks better for Devin Booker. It looks a lot better for Cameron Payne, who averages around a fantasy point per minute and is likely to play around 35 minutes tonight. DeAndre Ayton is going to look good one way or the other. His rates have actually been better with Chris Paul on the floor, but he's underpriced regardless. And for the Denver Nuggets, another team where the rotation is kind of a guessing game right now and an absolute mess. We already know that Nikola Jokic is out. We know that Bones Highland is out. We know that Ish Smith is doubtful. Aaron Gordon is also questionable with a non-COVID illness, which is weird timing considering that Highland and Jokic are both out because they're in COVID protocols. But if Gordon does play, you're still going to be looking to Denver for a lot of upside here. Jokic not being on the floor increases usage rates, assist percentages, rebounding for pretty much everybody. Gordon will look good if he's in. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, KCP, these guys are going to look good. Bruce Brown Jr. off the bench is going to look good, assuming he comes off the bench. One way or the other, he's going to most likely play extended minutes and look like a good option. But if Gordon is out, you're probably going to get Brown in the starting lineup playing as many minutes as he physically can. You're likely to see even more playing time for guys like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. as well. Zeke Naji, Jeff Green potentially get more minutes. Green particularly at the 4. So if Gordon's out, you're just getting even more minutes available. I don't think it has too much of an impact on usage rates or anything like that because Jokic already accounts for that and he's out. But minutes certainly just are everywhere for this team if Gordon is going to miss this game as well. So to recap, the questionable players that we are currently waiting on: Tyrese Haliburton, questionable for the Pacers; Wendell Carter Jr., questionable for the Magic; Dewayne Dedmon, questionable for Miami; Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. are both questionable for the Raptors; Donovan Mitchell, questionable for the Cavs. He went through shoot-around. Jrue Holiday, questionable for the Bucks; Chris Paul, questionable for the Suns; and Aaron Gordon, questionable for the Nuggets.